The Month is an acclaimed nonprofit The Moth is an acclaimed nonprofit organization that champions the diversity and commonality of the human experience through the visceral art and craft of storytelling. Since its founding in 1997, The Moth has presented more than 55,000 true first-person stories told live by people from all walks of life to audiences worldwide. At its core, The Moth believes that everyone has a story to tell. And by crafting and sharing stories, we can see each other in our full complexity and feel our shared humanity.
Funding from the Golden Globe Foundation will provide people with the tools, confidence, and platform to learn the art and craft of storytelling. And now, please put your hands together for a special guest and be sure to pay close attention. Here to share his story entitled Violators Will Be Told, please welcome Moth storyteller Maddie Struski.
Before I start, I just want to say I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to tell this story and represent the Moth here tonight, so thank you to everybody who made that happen for me. So I have a 10-year-old daughter named Rain, and she was born with cerebral palsy. In most ways, Rain is just like every other kid her age, but her CP has affected her ability to walk, and because of that, she uses a wheelchair for mobility. And when you have a kid who uses a wheelchair, you can feel like you exist in a world that isn't really designed with them in mind. It's like you're constantly having to navigate all these obstacles that typical people get to move seamlessly through. And when the doctor first talked to my wife Valerie and me about the diagnosis, I had this knee-jerk reaction where I started thinking about all the things that she was never going to be able to do. I thought, she's never going to take long walks in the woods with me, and she's never going to be able to surf, and she's never going to be the first female shortstop in Major League Baseball. And then there are the physical barriers that push Rain to the periphery of the typical person's world on a daily basis, and it's poorly maintained sidewalks, and it's narrow hallways and old buildings that are used as storage spaces, and it's constantly having to look for a ramp or an elevator or an accessible entrance instead of just being able to walk in the door that's right in front of her. And as a parent, it can be gut-wrenching watching your kid deal with all these obstacles that most people don't even really realize exist. But on the other side of that, there's one space with big, beautifully drawn lines that's sole purpose is to make the lives of people with disabilities just a little bit easier. And it's a place that everybody in here has looked at with envy at one point or another in their life. And it's a place that should be completely off limits to anybody who doesn't have a disability. And that space is the accessible parking spot. And as a father of a child with a disability, I find it very frustrating when people abandon their shopping carts in these spots. So I feel like it's my duty when I see them to move these carts for people. So one day, after I'm done with my grocery shopping, I'm doing my duty, I'm moving these carts, and just as I finish pulling the last cart out of the spot, this guy on a scooter comes wheeling up, and he parks literally where I just moved the last cart from. And I find myself getting incredibly angry, and I say to him, probably a bit more aggressively than I intended, "Hey man, you cannot park here." And he looks at me like I'm a bit of a crazy person, and he says, "It's not a big deal, I'm just running in and out real quick." And this just makes me even angrier, and it's like all of those obstacles and barriers that Rain deals with on a daily basis that just physically manifested themselves in front of me in the form of this Vespa rider, and I just want to tear this guy apart. But this funny thing has happened to me emotionally since I've become a father, and a lot of times when I get mad, I'll just start to cry for some reason, and it's kind of hard to portray an aura of authority and confidence when you have tears running down your face and snot's coming out of your nose. And I've thought about this so many times since this has happened, and what I wish I said is, it doesn't matter how long you're going to be, the spot isn't for you. Just move your scooter to another spot and be thankful you can walk in here with your fully functioning legs. But I didn't say that. Instead, I charged right up to him, and I got in his personal space, and I choked back my anger tears, and I said, "I'm telling." And he said, you're telling? I said, "Yeah, that's right, I'm telling." And I spun around, and I started to walk to the store to tell on this guy. And then it just sort of degenerated into this weird foot race because he started going to the store, And we both get in there about the same time, and I went to find an employee, and he went some other way to buy milk or eggs or something. And I tracked down this assistant manager that I recognized, and he knew that I had a daughter who used a wheelchair. And he saw my face, and he said, is everything okay? What happened? And I just told on this guy so hard. I was like, this guy just parked his scooter in an accessible spot. He's not supposed to, and I told him he can't park there, but he didn't listen to me, and now he's in here buying milk or eggs or something. And he looked just as upset as I felt. And he said, hold on a second. We're going to take care of this right now. And he marched over to the public address system and basically publicly shamed this guy by announcing whoever parked their scooter in the accessible parking spot needs to move it immediately. And he put the receiver down, and I looked, and I could see people in the checkout line, and they looked shocked and appalled at what they just heard. And one guy even audibly booed, which I thought was very supportive. And I started scanning the other checkout lines to see if I could spot the scooter rider and maybe point him out to the mob and publicly shame him some more. But I couldn't find him, so after a few minutes, I went outside, and his scooter was already gone, and there was no way he could have finished his shopping in that amount of time. So I left the store that day feeling vindicated and invigorated, because here was this group of people that heard about somebody acting inappropriately, and they just stepped in to support me. And that made me feel very hopeful. And I started thinking about all the times that Rain's out in the world and somebody offers to open a door for her or just move something out of the way or just give her a smile or a thumbs up. And it made me feel like the world is full of people that are good and basically just want to help one another. And I know that it's my responsibility to protect Rain, but I also know that I need to teach her that if she sees somebody acting unjustly, she needs to speak up. And she also needs to know if she needs help, it's okay to ask for it. And that doesn't just apply because she happens to have a disability. And like all of us, Rain's gonna face her struggles in life, and we just have to figure out workarounds to them. And yeah, she can't walk, but we found trails in the woods that are accessible, and she can bring her wheelchair down them. And she does adaptive horseback riding, and we take trail rides on horseback, and we go canoeing down rivers, so we have adventures in the woods that way. And we found this group that does adaptive surfing, and she loves being in the water, and she loves the ocean. And yeah, she's probably not gonna play Major League Baseball, but realistically, none of your kids are gonna do that either. But when we go to Dodger Stadium to catch a game, we get a great parking spot.